So we'll get started. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar, Simplify AI Deployments with WEKA-AI. We're joined by our partners, WEKA, Mellanox, and NVIDIA for this short 30-minute review and Q&A. Toward the end of the 30 minutes, I will post a link in chat for all of the attendees to fill out a short survey and receive our gift today. With that, I'd like to introduce Amarindapal Oberoi, Director of Data AI Solutions at Groupware Technology.
Thank you, Trish. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
All right, cool. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Groupware-powered webinars. So hope everyone is keeping safe and healthy at these times. We would be discussing how to simplify your AI deployments using WEKA-AI. I am Amrinder Singh, and I'm a part of Groupware AI Labs. I'm joined by a group of industry-leading experts. And can you go to the next slide, Trish? We have Jackie Sensi from NVIDIA. We have Sailesh Manjrekar from WEKA.io. We have Scott Sailesh from Mellanox, now a part of the NVIDIA family. So next, a little bit about who we are. So as a leading IT solution provider since 1992, Groupware Technology specializes in data center infrastructure, cloud and AI computing, rack integration services, and first call support. Next. So, so within Groupware, right, we have Groupware AI Labs, that is a center of excellence designed to run specialized reference architectures and conduct benchmark services. We can expedite your AI journey, whether you are currently using AI or starting to formulate your AI policy. We add customer value by leveraging our services for conducting POCs before procurement. So our lab, just to give you a kind of idea how big it is, so we have about 360,000 CUDA cores with specializations in running AI and HPC workloads. The labs can be accessed 24/7, whether in person or remotely by our customers and partners jointly, right? And by virtue of running these labs for multiple years and conducting numerous POCs, we understand the importance of storage and networking stack in the AI environment. And what our experience has been, so many times while architecting solutions, we have seen team focus their energy on GPUs, the type of GPUs, the count of GPUs, and storage and networking become an afterthought, leading to a suboptimal AI implementation, right? So today we want to focus our attention on one of our premium storage partners, WEKA.io, and give an overview of WEKA-AI reference architecture, leveraging NVIDIA GPUs and networking from Mellanox. We have been benchmarking WEKA-AI, and I'm impressed by its performance attributes and the simplicity it brings while running AI workloads. So with that, let me have Sailesh from WEKA.io give us an overview of their product.
Sailesh, you may be on mute.
Thank you, Obi. Good morning, folks. Good afternoon. My name is Sailesh Manjrekar. I head AI and strategic alliances here at WEKA. To give you a little background around WEKA, we are based here in Silicon Valley. We have several marquee strategic investors, with NVIDIA being NVIDIA and Mellanox being a couple strategic investors. And we are very excited about this partnership with Groupware and NVIDIA to launch WEKA-AI as a framework. The way we go to market is primarily we are channel-based, so very tight relationship with Groupware. We also work with our OEM partners who tend to resell us, several of these marquee OEM partners, and then we also have our own direct sales team. So before, let me just dive into the WEKA-AI framework. So before I do that, let me give you a market view of where we are seeing, the advent of GPU computing, or what we call accelerated computing. So if you look at the traditional high performance computing market, there is certainly a big deal of advent of accelerated computing, whether you are looking at use cases like Monte Carlo simulations, you're looking at fluid dynamics, you're looking at the traditional genomics. There is now a good deal of GPU acceleration coming into picture. Same thing we are seeing with high performance data analytics, where you see traditional Hadoop and Spark stacks now being GPU accelerated. If you folks listen to Jensen's keynote from NVIDIA a couple of weeks back, Spark 3.0 is now a GPU accelerated as well. So these new stacks, and then of course, there is AI ML, which is pretty much penetrating any of these verticals, whether it be autonomous vehicles, whether it be healthcare, whether it be Fed and public sector use cases. And what is common across all of these use cases when they're using a GPU acceleration is they bring a great amount of parallelism to the compute layer, right? So suddenly you're going from a 24 to 48 core Skylake processor to suddenly 5,000 cores with an Tesla V100. So it is not good enough to architect your such a parallel compute layer with the traditional storage stacks, which fall short when when it comes to providing better utilization to this compute layers. And that's precisely where WEKA comes into picture with WEKA-FS, which is our file system. It's a parallel file system architected from grounds up for NVMe flash and NVMe or fabrics. And we use our own real-time OS. It can run as an LXC container, which provides us a lot of flexibility in terms of deployment, but also provides the highest performance today on the market in terms of throughput, IOPS, and latency. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go along. Krish, if you can move to the next slide. Yeah. So this is an example of what is really driving this new kind of use cases, right? The new crop of AI ML applications. These are inherently different from the traditional file-based applications. So these are more around pipelines. And these pipelines, they tend to cater from right from the edge to the core to the cloud. Okay, so the requirements from the storage and the storage IO are very different than a traditional file application where you're just hosting home directories or doing some virtualization and so on. And I'll walk you through what I mean by that. So this is an example of an autonomous vehicle, or what we call software-defined car. And we have several customers who are using us for this kind of pipelines. The edge means a lot of things to a lot of people. In this case, an example of edge is an autonomous vehicle, which is driving on the streets with LiDAR, radars, computer vision cameras, and so on. And it's collecting data. And this is a good amount of data we're talking about. So depending on the kind of autonomy the survey car is trying to achieve, right from 2+ to 5+, you can expect anywhere from 2 petabytes data upwards. So what that means is you need performance at really scale. So that's the first characteristic of this new application. The second characteristic is with edge, there is always an edge aggregation point where all of these survey cars, they get into an parking lot and upload all of that data. So you have an edge aggregation point where WEKA runs. So WEKA doesn't run so much on the edge endpoints, it runs on the edge aggregation point. And the edge aggregation is all about inferencing, if you know the pipelines. Then there is the core where you do most of the time you're doing training. Okay, and then there is the cloud where you leverage the economies of scale of the cloud. The thing to point out here is whether you are doing your AI/ML pipelines at the edge, at the core, or the cloud, or a combination of all three, WEKA can be installed at all three of these deployments. And the look and feel, the performance characteristics, the value proposition, what we bring remain the same. So it's one of the differentiators what we bring to the table. We are also available in cloud as an in the AWS marketplace as an AMI. So you can certainly use us in the cloud as well. So that's kind of the first characteristic. The second characteristic, as I said, we provide a flexibility of deployment. So for an kind of an edge deployment or an edge aggregation deployment, you can deploy us in a converged mode. What I mean by that is on the same GPU servers, for example, if it is NVIDIA DGX2, or it could be an Apollo 6500, you can put us onto the GPU server itself because we run as an LXC container. And that way we are able to leverage the NVMe flash tier within that GPU server. And that these GPU servers are becoming increasingly more dense with a lot of NVMe flash storage. So that way we are able to leverage the flash tier within the GPU servers. And then we tier inherently to an object store, whether on-prem or off-prem, we have that capacity built in. And we do it in a very unique fashion. So we keep all the metadata and the IOs get acknowledged from the flash tier while we leverage the economics of the hard disk drive and the durability of an object store. So that way we bring best of both the worlds onto the paradigm. So that's one way of deploying. The second way of deploying, of course, is you can deploy us on dedicated storage servers. And as I said, we have relationships with all the OEMs. We are just a purely software defined layer. Okay, but we can go on anybody's storage servers, whether it be HPE, whether it be Supermicro, whether it be Dell, and so on and so forth. So that's the second way we can be deployed. And the third way we can be deployed, obviously, is in cloud in AWS. Okay, so that's kind of some of the characteristics around the file system itself. And then on the top, you would see this massive Kubernetes layer, which comes from NVIDIA GPUs, which is all orchestrated by Kubernetes from either OpenShift or HPE, Blue Data, and so on and so forth. And then you see this pipeline where, there is data being ingested, data being labeled, data. There's a bunch of scientists running their CI/CD pipelines throughout their experimentation process. If it is an ADAS use case, then you're doing a bunch of simulations, and then you get into lifecycle management. But to kind of reiterate, at each stage of these pipelines, there are different storage requirements. Somewhere you're doing massive write, somewhere you're doing a random read write. And that's what makes these pipelines very unique and very challenging for traditional storage stacks, where if you don't use something like WEKA, you more than often result into storage silos. Okay. So hopefully that gave you a sense of what I meant by the new applications. And as a result of this, these new applications, they are driving the underlying architecture, whether it be edge to core to cloud, whether it be things like GPU direct storage, which I'll talk about more as we go along. Okay, but that's kind of what we bring to the table and why we are so excited to be working with Groupware and the AI labs. Trish, if you can move to the next slide. Okay, so just to highlight, this is what makes the storage layer so much challenging when it comes to AI use cases. So AI use cases, if you know, they're all about experimentation. Okay, and someplace you're doing ingest, which is about massive write bandwidth. Somewhere you're doing labeling. Somewhere you're doing annotation, which is about mixed read writes, random read writes. Somewhere you're doing training, where it's more about massive read bandwidth. Somewhere you're doing simulation, which is all about large number of streams. Then you get onto inferencing, which is really about low latency. And then finally, you get into the retaining part because this data sets have to be retained, because the DNNs, if you know the deep neural networks, they are for the most part really black boxes. So the only way you can find out why an autonomous vehicle turned left versus right is by keeping a tab on the data sets. So you need capabilities like data versioning. And that's what makes WEKA very unique because of our performance characteristics, because of our mixed workload handling characteristics, because of our data versioning capabilities, data management capabilities, our capability to provide hybrid workflows makes us extremely unique. And that's the reason why you see us winning throughout this stack. Okay, and to sum up, that is what we've been calling WEKA AI. So what we have done is working with our partners, whether it be NVIDIA, Mellanox, we have put together a best of breed stack, right? With us, obviously, at the center stage of it, we've been the custodians of the data set, which is the most precious or the most strategic asset you would have in this workflows, but also working with accelerated computing, working with Kubernetes, working with accelerated libraries, whether it be Rapids, whether it be Index, whether it be the likes of those. And then also going a step further, working with SDKs, like, there are quite a few SDKs which NVIDIA has launched to democratize this AIs. And then of course, leveraging Groupware's expertise in AI. We've been working with them across several vertical use cases targeted for genomics, for healthcare, for 5G, or what we call Industry 4.0 kind of use cases. So there is a plethora of use cases we go after. We tend to focus on three primary verticals, and those are genomics, AI, ML, and FSI. But we also work with advanced HPC and HPDA, as I outlined in the beginning. So with that, I will hand it over to Jackie to talk about the WEKA AI stack itself and how we are bringing these three components together. Jackie?
Thank you, Shailesh. I appreciate that. Really choosing the right compute, networking, and storage technology, it plays a critical role in balancing large-scale enterprise deployment environments, enabling world-leading AI and predictive analytic workloads across each of these industry verticals that you see here at the bottom. The need for high bandwidth and ultra-low latency interconnect is essential for scalable performance across both HPC and AI applications, especially for GPU-bound workloads where data transfer has a significant impact on the total time to train an AI model. And Mellanox provides state-of-the-art data acceleration engines built into the hardware. This removes the CPU's involvement both at the endpoint, such as the network interconnect or NIC, and within the switch fabric, keeping efficient data throughput matched with the high I/O demands for distributed AI. Next. To sum up, NVIDIA DGX Fast Compute, Mellanox Fast Interconnect, and WEKA Fast Storage together enable an integrated solution for world-leading AI, such as our validated and tested DGX pod pictured here. These solutions are all certified by Groupware Technology for AI, data analytics, and scientific computing use cases. Next. WEKA-HPE Groupware Solutions portfolio and assets includes these 8 assets that you see here, several here which are certified and validated in the Groupware lab located in Campbell, California. And just to name a few, which will make links available for you, are time to value and insights for reducing the AI development cycle and production AI, HPE Autonomous Vehicle White Paper, Groupware Solution Brief for Accelerated AI for Genomics, and HPE Accelerated AI for Genomics highlighting Parabricks Tech Brief. And finally, the Stack M3 benchmarks, which will provide a link for you for all of these, as I was mentioning. Scott Schultz has been monitoring the questions from each of you and will be responding in the Q&A window as well as live Q&A. So Scott, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Jackie. We have just a couple of questions, but here we can see during the Q&A, if we don't get to your question, or you have additional questions after the webinar, we can certainly take that offline. The email address is right here, marketing@groupwaretech.com is where you'd send your additional follow-up questions. One question is, I think, for maybe for Shailesh. Does WEKA AI leverage GPU direct storage?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. That's a good question. And yes, we certainly do leverage GPU direct storage. In fact, we are one of the very few vendors who are part of the GPU direct storage beta, which is now jointly run between NVIDIA and us. So if there is customer interest from this webinar, we are soliciting beta customers right now. And just to give you a little background, what GPU direct storage is, it enables putting the data directly into GPU memory, bypassing the CPU complex and the CPU hops, right? So what that does is obviously it provides incredible performance, but also leaves the CPU cycles primarily for the applications themselves. Okay, so they don't have to worry about the IO performance. And then with GPU direct storage, WEKA is able to almost showcase 83 gigabytes of throughput to a single DGX2 server, a single mount point. Compare that to an NFS-based solution, which were really NFS is an older protocol meant primarily for 10 gigabit networking. And with that, you can barely get about 1.5 to 3 gigabyte of performance. And if you're using NVMe local flash, you can get about 3 to 3.5 gigabyte of performance. So almost to the factor of 40 to 50x improvement in terms of throughput to a single mount point is what we can showcase with GPU direct storage. Thanks.
And maybe another follow-up question for you. How is WEKA-AI solution able to expand as I continue to grow my infrastructure?
Yeah, again, a good question. So again, WEKA-AI is a software-only layer. It's a completely scale-out solution. So you can keep adding additional storage nodes with NVMe flash in them. And you can, that way you can increase the performance to the extent you want. And then additionally, we can also couple that up with the object store nodes where you can increase the capacity. So if you need capacity, you just keep adding object storage nodes, and we work with all leading object storage vendors. Okay, whether it be Scality, whether it be Cloudian, whether it be Quantum and IBM COS and a plethora of ecosystem. But if you want to increase capacity, you can increase through the storage nodes. If you want performance, you can increase through adding WEKA NVMe flash nodes. So we give that flexibility of improving, of independently scaling performance and capacity. At the same time, if you want to provide or leverage hybrid workflows or use compute in the cloud, you can certainly do that with our snap to object capabilities and our ability to rehydrate and run in AWS as well.
Thanks. Maybe this, we could take this. Does Groupware offer training or site surveys to assist with any power and cooling and installation requirements?
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. So basically, Groupware is a NVIDIA premium partner. So we are certified in terms of deploying these solutions, be it in your data center or your colos. So we would do a site survey, which is specified by NVIDIA in terms of the power, the rack, how much space you need in the front and bottom. So we have a whole certified process of doing it, and we've been doing it for multiple customers, not only in the US, we've been also deploying internationally. So absolutely, yeah, we are qualified to do that.
Okay. And then one, I think maybe for Jackie here. We would like to leverage DGX designs with our infrastructure, and our existing infrastructure is currently all Ethernet based. Is InfiniBand required to use a DGX based system, or can we leverage our existing infrastructure as well?
You most certainly can leverage your existing infrastructure. We support both Ethernet and InfiniBand. So we would work very closely to understand your existing infrastructure and make sure that we worked with you to help you with your pod design, including your networking and your storage, to make sure that you're choosing the right interconnect technology, whether that's Ethernet or InfiniBand.
Okay, thank you. And then one follow-up question, WEKA-IO and WEKA-AI, is run seamlessly across either Ethernet or InfiniBand.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.